Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the latest episode of Doctor Who. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This was a whirlwind of an episode. First of all, the whole thing with the Judoons, which side note, I always forget whether or not we've ever, I feel like we've seen the Judoon pop up before, but maybe that's just me BSing, because maybe this is the first time they popped up, but I feel like they've popped up before. Regardless, I was interesting. We meet Lee and Ruth, and it just seems like an everyday life. And then like Alan, all ears Alan, and he literally pulled up a dossier. She's like, "Is that a dossier?" He's like, "Yeah, Lee, it's this and that," and some of it's just not matching up. And it's like, okay, so everything at first, because it's like, okay, the Judoon are here because they're after Fugitive. You're like, well, obviously it's got to be Lee because he's so suspicious and everything. And I love like we're getting to some heavy plot stuff because like the Doctor's looking for some stuff. And obviously Ryan, Graham, and Yaz are like, oh, there she goes again. And Graham asks her about it. It's like, hey, Doc, you looking for something? It's like, when'd you get here? They're like, how long you been sitting there? It's like 20 minutes. She's like, no, you haven't. And it's like, holy crap. Like she's so focused, and it's just like, you know, what's going on? And obviously the Doctor's not talking about it. So it's like, what is she up to? And she's looking for the Master because he left her a gift and it left her a message. And they're like, oh, what is the message? She's like, it was personal. And it's like, and then like, there was that interesting line from Yaz being like, where do you go every time you tell it you're going to be back in like an hour, but you don't? And the Doctor's like, I go home. And they're like, why aren't you taking us with you? Because you asked too many questions. It's like, she's playing this super close to the vest again. I'm like, holy crap. And I thought that was so interesting. Then everything with the Judoon is happening. And I'm like, oh. And the Doctor trying to step in. The Judoon, it's actually super sad because the Judoon shoot first, ask questions later died because that old lady ended up destroying her thing. She was knitting something. She's like, I've been working on it for a couple weeks because they thought it was a weapon. She ran, she hit like the barrier that's surrounding the town, got incinerated. Poor Alan got killed because he pushed one of them because it was like, he got caught up in the moment. They killed him. I was like, oh, poor Alan. And now it turns into a thing of like, okay, like I said, like the Doctor's trying to buy time. I even love that thing of like her coming up with rules because it's like, oh, like the Judoon have their rules, and she comes up with one that's like an Earth rule, and she asks Yaz, and Yaz is like, oh yeah, that's 100% real. And it's like, all right, so you're gonna give me 10 minutes. And Judoon was like 5, and she's like 9. And he was like 4, and she's like, fine, 5. I hate it when they do that. But then it's like, okay, she goes up there, she's talking to Lee, and it's like, okay, a lot of people are going to get hurt if you don't tell the truth, because you're trying to figure out who's lying. Is it Ruth or is it Lee? Well, it's like, obviously, it's like, we know as the audience, oh, it's Lee. She scans him, and it's like, they're both human. I'm like, I wasn't expecting that. So it's like, do they have something that Judoon won't? But they said fugitive, so it wouldn't be an object. Not unless it's just a thing that he did steal an object. But I'm like, I would expect some regular human to do. Also, it's just interesting to see that the Judoon were just out and about, like, checking people out. Like, are you the fugitive? No. Move along. But regardless, while that's all happening, Graham ended up getting left behind. And I love that line from the Doctor being like, wait, where's Graham? Did you leave him behind? And it's like, he's like, he's not my and Ryan's like, he's not my responsibility. He's usually like a few steps behind, so I don't bother looking anymore. But lo and behold, where's Graham? He's on a ship. A voice is telling him not to move and everything. And lo and behold, who the hell is it? Jack. I lost my damn mind. I was like, what? No way. Oh, dude, this is the season of craziness. It's like we got the Master back, and now it's like, I mean, at least with the Master, it hasn't been that long since we saw the Master, because the last time we saw the Master was series 10, when the Master was Missy. But now it's like that's happening at the beginning of the season. Now we got Jack back. Do correct me, like I bring it up all the time. My memory on a lot of earlier Doctor Who is kind of scattered, but I want to say the last time we saw Jack was series 3, because I think it was Tennant and like Martha. So I think it was like 10 and Martha were kicking it. So I think that was it. I think it was like, oh, like when they found out like Jack's name is like the face of Boa, that super old thing that's been around for like thousands and thousands of years. They kind of insinuated that was Jack because that was his nickname. And because of his regenerative abilities, he kind of can't die. I want to say that's the last time Jack popped up in Doctor Who. Obviously, within the canon, obviously it being like the 4th season / series of what's its face? Torchwood, which obviously his introduction here is like, there's a lot of history in between, like how'd you get from Torchwood's ending, which wasn't the ending because obviously there was still more story to tell, but there never was story to, it just never continued. But it's like between that and here, like there's so much story there that maybe we're gonna have to fill in later. But I love that Jack ends up kissing Graham because it's like, oh, I haven't seen you. Oh, the gray looks good. And he's like, oh, right, I'm not the doctor. And he's like, oh, so you're telling me you're not the doctor? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, trying to talk about he, and then he's like, you mean she? And Jack smiles. He's like, oh, I gotta see this. And then I love it. He tries to do it later on, but he gets Yaz and Ryan, and it's like, okay, so it's probably, he said she, so it's got to be you. And it's like, what? And then even he points out 3. He's like, wow. I never, because once again, the doctor typically kicks it with 1 to 2 companions, never 3. And for there to be a third one, it's just kind of interesting. He's like, but I had a dream about this. I even love it being like, what was it that he, it's like, oh yeah, he told about the fact is that told Ryan, it's like, oh, I guess she likes to mouthy. And he was like, yeah, that's a step above cheesy. And Jack's like, ooh, he's like saying that Ryan was his favorite. It's like, oh, I really like him. So all that's going down. Obviously, the doctor's dealing with everything on Earth. Like Lee ends up getting killed by someone named Gat, and it's like a medal or something. I'm like, that Gat. I mean, that he had, it's like his it was something like a souvenir, and it's like it's something from his past that Lee had kept up with, that it's like, okay, so that's how they were able to track him. And then obviously there was a message sent to what's her face, Ruth. Jeez, I was blanking on her name so much. About like, you know, breaking the glass, what, so on and so forth. And it seemed like she was remembering something, and then when the Judoon show up, then she kind of like goes, oh, as the doctor says, Jackie Chan like kicks some ass, breaks off the horn of one of them, but it's like you doing that set off other things in motion. But obviously for Ruth, it's like, it's not making any sense. I've always known who I am, so this isn't making any sense. And then it's kind of like, okay, but then it's like, okay, like starting to realize like they're wearing some biological barrier that's keeping hidden what they really are. Because at the same time, there's everything with Jack. Jack is like, all right, here's a message for the doctor of beware the lone Cybermen. Don't give them what they want. Which the group is like, Cybermen is like, she's like, and he's like, you haven't met a Cyberman yet, right? That's like, okay, so. And it's like their kingdom, their empire has fallen, and it needs to stay that way. The last time we saw Cybermen, obviously in the context of all of this, was the Bill situation back in series 10, if I remember correctly. Like, that's the last instance of the whole Cybermen thing we've seen more recently. So I'm curious to see what that means, because it seems like they're suggesting that it's like someone from the future sent some, like a Cyberman or something in the past, and it's like, wait, what's this all about? And like, how does this 100% relate to the doctor? But this is the message that he was sending. My mind started going like, is that what Ruth is? Is Ruth actually secretly a Cyberman in disguise or something like that? And then because the doctor's testing Ruth and everything, being like, you this and this, trying to find out, like, because obviously she's like, okay, this lighthouse is in my memory. It's my home. My family's buried there. But then like the doctor starts running through some stuff, and Ruth is naming off stuff. It's like, oh, this. I moved here Christmas of like 99. And it's like, okay, she's like, are you testing me? It's like, yeah, because she's trying to figure out what Ruth is hiding, or at least isn't aware of herself. So it's like, okay, this is wild. And then like, you know, it's like, then she starts talking about home and stuff like that. And I'm like, her conversation about like home and having really been back and the smell of it, I'm like, that's so interesting, because the doctor's kind of going through that, interestingly enough, with our own home and everything, you know, with Gallifrey and everything. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then lo and behold, it's like, yeah, just things aren't sitting well with the doctor. So obviously she does the break glass thing happens with Ruth. And the doctor goes digging up some stuff, and I'm like, this isn't making any sense. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, this isn't a grave. Like, what's going on? And then we see police box. I was like, no way. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, she's a freaking Time Lord. I was like, what? But then she's like, but I'm like, of course. But then it's like revealed where she's like, I'm the doctor. I'm like, wait, what? Because also it makes sense because the doctor's the only one with a police box for a TARDIS, because the TARDIS can shapeshift into any form. Obviously, the Master's turns his into many different forms, but the Doctor's hers is stuck looking like a police box. But I was thinking maybe there's just another. But then I'm like, what? What's going on? And she's like, I'm the Doctor, and obviously, like, you know, our Doctor 13, she's losing her mind. She's like, wait, what? None of this is making sense because I'm the Doctor. And it's like, wait, what? And then you're just like, what could this possibly mean? They're saying stuff at the same time, and they're both like, stop doing that. And it's like, I was like, dude, we are in some super duper weird territory, because under her impression, she's like, oh, you must be my, like, the fact is, if I don't know you, that must mean that you're my future. But for 13, she's like, it doesn't make any sense. I've never been you before. Because she's like, I remember all my lives, so I've never been. Even though, that's the thing, even the one Doctor they want to forget, the Doctor they were during the war, Gallifrey, it's like, during that time, they still remember that Doctor, but why don't they? So it's not making any sense. So it's like, who are you, Ruth? If you are the Doctor, but then it starts blowing my mind. I'm like, remember what the Master told the Doctor. We've been lied to our entire lives. People telling us who we are. So maybe the Doctor, she thinks Ruth might be the real Doctor, whereas our Doctor isn't the real Doctor. Either she's a copy or clone or something. Like, once again, like, they lied about who they are, so maybe she is some secret, or at least maybe her and the Master, or, you know, maybe there's secrets, experiments made by the people, the higher ups on Gallifrey, and they needed to give them identities to keep them hidden. So it might not just been Ruth who was hidden, which is also the thing. Why would Ruth be hiding her identity? Well, because it turns out, we meet Gat, and obviously, you know, Ruth was like, don't talk, leave this to me, and everything. And every time the Doctor would try and talk, I love Gat would be like, what was it? Be quiet, skinny woman or something like that. She's like, skinny, fine, I'll bite my tongue. But then it's like, it's not, because it's blowing everyone for a loop, because it's like, what's going on here? And so it turns out it's like there's some higher ups, because even the Doctor is like, so the fact of the matter is, who is it that you're all working for? The Judoon are here because someone else has hired them, and you are here for something else too, which is also suggesting, does that mean that Lee was one too, or was Lee just a guardian to, like, so does that mean that there are guardians to Time Lords? The Time Lords have their personal guardians, or was it supposed to represent the fact is that Lee was a Time Lord as well? Because Gat is a Time Lord. And obviously upon hearing this, because it's like, I'm the Doctor, that's the Doctor. But then Gat was like, that's impossible. If two of the Doctors existed at the same time, well, because the Doctor's kind of done weird things. Because remember, all 13 Doctors, well, 12 Doctors at that time joined forces. Well, because let's not forget, that rule has been broken before, because Tennant and Smith existed during like the 50-year special at the same time. You know, and then all the other Doctors, all the other 10 Doctors, 1 through 12, had chipped in as well with that situation. So it's like, I don't know. So it's like, things are just not making sense. And then there's a whole sad situation where it's like, the fact that she's like, if you are from my future, then you're taking, or if you're from my past or whatever, you're taking orders from a place that doesn't exist anymore, because she's like, during the war I saw Gallifrey burn, and most recently I've seen it burn because of the Master. So it's like, there's no one there you're taking orders from, and those orders kind of mean nothing in the long run, because there's nothing of Gallifrey left. And so she shows her the truth, which she didn't show that to the Doctor, Ruth. She only showed it to Gat, but Gat didn't believe her, used a weapon and gets obliterated, which obviously the Doctor didn't like that, because at first she was like, the Doctor doesn't use a weapon, which Ruth was like, yeah, I know. I even love her later on. It's like, earlier she had called her, and it's like, is there a word to describe how stupid you are? And 13, she's like, Doctor. But like, there's just so much with that it's like, oh, it's making my head spin. But the fact of the matter is, it's like, okay, so if that's the case, that, you know, It's just making my brain hurt because it's like I don't know what to make of that, but especially because like you had the situation of like because obviously the doctor, she's not too happy about that because it's like regardless of everything, you still killed her. You knew that she would fire the gun. It's like, but Ruth was like, I told her not to, I begged her not to, and it's like, don't take the moral high ground with me because I guess maybe because like if we are the same, that things that we've done that kind of tiptoe that line, but on the TARDIS and everything, 13, she's so quiet because she doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know what to make of it. And obviously, Ruth is like, I need you to get off my ship and everything. And it's like, dude, this, once again, like, why would they be sending people after the doctor? For what reason, was Ruth being hunted down? Why would the doctor be hunted down? And once again, is Ruth the past or future? But once again, it doesn't make any sense because if she was the past, the doctor remembers. She would, even though she forgets some things, she always remembers all her life. So not unless it's suggesting like, once again, like who the doctor was, the war doctor. They weren't that doctor for that long, over the period of the war, and then that was it. It was supposed to be like a forget this ever happened. It was the doctor's like biggest shame that the doctor hid away from and ran from for so long. But meets up with everyone else, and here's this message from Jack, and it's like, so now it's kind of like, okay, so what does this all mean? Because now the doctor's thinking like, that must mean something or someone is after her, because she's like seeing the master now running into Jack, and now potentially this other doctor. It's like time is in this like, time is spiraling around her in an out of control manner, because that kept bringing up something I was wondering, like at what point in time is the master from? Is this the master after Missy supposedly died? But then it's like, but once again, it wouldn't make any sense because like she was dying, she wasn't going to regenerate again, was she? I don't think she was, but not less. Was supposed to be her next regeneration, but I didn't think so. But obviously the master that got away got injured and was about to regenerate. But my understanding, but I guess I never, maybe they said this, but maybe I just assumed, but I thought Missy was the next one after the master. Or maybe there was in between at least one or two, or maybe more regenerations in between the master becoming Missy. Like I said, so, but not less what's happening with the master, it happened with the doctor. Once again, we're back to that thing of they've been lied to. They aren't who they think they are. Does that apply to all Gallifreyan and Time Lords, or is it specifically to the doctor and the master? So much in that regard, and obviously, the doctor's keeping so much to herself, because for her, it's like, because Ryan, it's like, well, the fact of the matter is, whatever it is, we'll kind of face it. But she's like, you guys don't know me. I've been around for thousands of years. I've had so many faces. The fact of the matter is, you don't know me. Which Jazz was like, yo, don't talk to Ryan like that. But the fact of the matter is, we know who you are. We're a team, and more so than anything, we're family. So whatever it is that's coming our way, whether it be something you're charging ahead, you want to track down and find out what it is that's coming after you, or you want to stand right here and wait for it to come to you, we're perfectly fine either way, because we got your back, because you are who we know you to be, and that's the best person that we know. You were able to bring us together, these group of friends, this family, and I thought that was beautiful. So the doctor, because she's in such turmoil, just like trying to figure this all out with Gallifrey, the master, now all of this other doctor. I even love it's like, it's like that doctor patronizing her, Ruth patronizing her, because it's like, took you like 5 steps to kind of catch up, but finally, and it's like, a sonic screwdriver and everything, almost being like, yeah, we kind of moved past that and whatnot. But nevertheless, with all of that, it's like, whew. Dude, that's all I can say with that. And obviously there's trouble that pops up at the end, but it's like, maybe that has something to do with all of this, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Twist upon twist I wasn't expecting. And Jack even said himself, just let her know that whenever she needs me, I'll be there, which I'm like, yo, we're going to see Jack again at some point in this season/series. Dude, like I said at the beginning, a whirlwind of an episode. I cannot wait to see where all this takes us going forward. This is getting really, really interesting, and I'm like, I don't know. Because even the doctor was looking for the master because she was trying to find the world where those creatures came from. Because she assumed that the master escaped. But if he did manage to escape, I'm sure he'd make it hard to track down because he doesn't want the doctor to find the answers easily, which I doubt they're going to be easy answers. Because even he was like, oh, they caused some devastation to me. Why should you get off easy by like just hearing the answers? You need to find them out and let them devastate you like they devastated me. What made me go back and basically burn our world to the ground. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see where all this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.